By trying to take Rafah, Israel is trying to wrestle back control of the process, but it's not going to work. Wallahi, everything they do these days just isolates them further. Genocidal criminals who just rejected a ceasefire offer and responded to a ceasefire offer by attacking innocent people in Rafah. It's like America hates their own credibility at this point. They've had opportunity after opportunity over the past 7 months to actually do the right thing, to actually live up to all their talk about justice and human rights, all the exact same talk that they were reciting over Ukraine. They could have backed that up with regards to Gaza. All that imaginary performative outrage over civilian casualties in Ukraine. You know, attacks on hospitals, attacks on infrastructure and what have you. Not to mention all their talk about democracy and freedom and so on. If America was anything at all like what they say about themselves, if they actually believed in any of the values that they claim to believe in, then more than 35,000 Palestinians would not have been murdered. See, their problem is that the reality is eclipsing the narrative. The stench of Zionist savagery is overpowering the perfume that America sprays on its own reputation to cover their own noxious odor, the stink of the fetid corpse of their so-called democratic society that died long ago, if it was ever alive to begin with. No, you tied yourselves to Israel to the point that you can't extricate yourselves now. So now it's sinking you. Israel and the pathological obsession with colonization that fuels your bad romance with Israel is burning America's standing both globally and domestically. Your whole narrative about yourselves is getting ripped to shreds. Nobody wants to play along anymore. Nobody sympathizes with your fatal attraction to Zionism, and no one has to put up with it anymore. No, at this point, America can only do one thing to recover any credibility on the global stage, and that's to actively and aggressively stop Israel. Cutting ties, just cutting ties, isn't going to be enough at this point. You need to impose a no-fly zone over Gaza, impose more sanctions against Israel than you imposed against Russia. You need to demand immediate IAEA inspections of Israel's nuclear facilities. You need to revoke the American citizenship of every Israeli dual citizen and seize all Israeli assets in America and Europe. Ban Israeli media. Treat the Israeli flag the same way that you treat the swastika. Designate the IDF as a terrorist organization and Israel as a state sponsor of terrorism. And if that doesn't do the trick, then you need to launch a shock and awe campaign against Israel the same way that you did against Iraq, the same way you did against Libya and Afghanistan and so on, and bomb them back to the Stone Age, because that's what you do, isn't it? Isn't that supposed to be the American way? But we all know you'll never do that. And because we all know that you'll never do that, we all know that you have never meant a single word that you said. And that's why no one is ever going to listen to you again. So you've been found out. You've been exposed. The audience for all your speeches about democracy and liberty and human rights are filing out of the building, and we've turned off your microphone. Oh, you've passed the Rubicon of hypocrisy at this point. There's no going back now. The world is moving on, knowing what we know. And no matter how much you repeat your completely bankrupt narrative, you can't make us unknow what we know about you. America is a train wreck that collided with a dumpster fire, and you're trying to put that fire out with oil and plutonium, and everyone wants to get as far away from you as possible.